For almost the entirety of the Zenless Zone Zero story, there has been a secretive organization working in the shadows. They almost always appear at the end of each patch and seem to not only be aware of everything happening, but are also often the ones orchestrating them. In 1.4, we managed to uncover and stop a small part of their plan and bring to light a handful of its members. Despite their active involvement in practically everything, we barely know anything about them. Who exactly are these people? Where do they come from? And what exactly is their ultimate goal? That's what I want to discuss in this video. The shadow organization responsible for nearly every problem Phaethon has faced so far, the Order. Before we get into that, if you want to see more Zenless Zone Zero content, do consider subscribing to the channel. Just a quick warning before we proceed, since I'll be talking about one of the main antagonists of the story, there will be a bunch of spoilers. So if you aren't caught up with the main story, then just know that this might outright spoil a bunch of things for you, especially the 1.4 story. Let me start by briefly going through what this secretive group has been up to, because believe me, they have been involved with pretty much everything going on in the story thus far. The first time we see hints of their involvement is during the whole Vision Corporation debacle, where the CEO's assistant, Sarah, was revealed to be the true mastermind. This makes them directly connected to whatever Kolida's father was doing, the sacrificed ethereal held in the memorial statue, and even the hijacking of its parts when they were confiscated. They also planned the assassination of Perlman and are the hidden hand behind the mercenary group working in the Belle Twins building. The members of this group were also the ones behind the attack on the White Star Institute lab in Arpeggio Fault, with one of their own being the main saboteur, Eloin Mystic. Even the whole simulation event with Miyabi's Section 6 that was seemingly orchestrated by the hacker Nullface turned out to actually be this group as well. Although we did get to see Miyabi Boo in that event, so I'll give them a pass for that. Everything that has happened in the recent 1.4 story is pretty much them as well. They were the ones who stole Miyabi's sword, tried to trick her into killing civilians, rigged an election, tested out a dangerous ethereal making serum, and when all else failed, tried to kill all the protagonists. It's even suggested that they were the ones responsible for the raid on the Helios Institute and the abduction of Phaethon's teacher, Carol Arna. Basically, everything that has happened so far in the main story has involved this group in one way or another, going back to even before the main story even started. You could even say that Phaethon's true mission was instigated by this very group. Now, what is really funny is that despite their clear involvement in the story, we don't actually have an official name for this group. There's almost no mention of it, and they never really referred to themselves as anything. That said, in the Enter the Ether videotape, there are references to a group called the Order that behaves suspiciously like this group. But it's fictitious, and even then, the character that referred to them as the Order was known to be unreliable. But since this is the only reference we have, I'll refer to them as the Order from here on out. So all these random things they're doing has to lead somewhere, right? There must be some endgame goal here. Well, that's the other funny thing. Not only do we not know their name, we don't even know what their main goal is. At this point, you're probably wondering, then what in the world is this video about? It seems mostly like just a recap at this point. Isn't it supposed to discuss who they are and what their goals are? Well, hold your horses. I'm gonna get into the theory soon enough, but you have to understand that even this far into 1.0, this group has remained largely out of the limelight. So we can make some educated guesses, but that's all they will end up being. I'm just trying to curb your expectations here. But enough of that, let's start speculating. The first idea that came to mind is that the Order are a bunch of holo fanatics who, instead of living alongside holos like normal people, they would rather live in them. What I mean is that they likely wish for humanity to evolve into a form that allows them to survive and perhaps even thrive within holos. When Bringer's schemes were exposed by Section 6, he injects himself with an unknown serum and forcibly mutates into an ethereal. Despite mutating into a bulbous amalgamation of eyes, he mentions that this perfect form is what will lead them to the age of holos. This makes me believe that those who follow the Order view the ethereals and holos as blessings rather than curses. They likely believe that ethereals are the next stage of human evolution and that humanity should embrace it. I mean, realistically speaking, combating the holos and ethereals is an uphill battle. They grow and appear with little to no warning, and it's very difficult to control or suppress them, let alone continue surviving alongside them. Most civilizations in the world of Zenless Zone Zero have fallen to ruin, and New Eridu has a very precarious existence. At any given moment, a hollow could engulf it completely. The Great Chasm is a man-made geological feature meant to prevent Hollow Zero from gobbling up New Eridu, so the lengths that they have had to go through in order to survive has always come at a high cost. So those who follow the Order likely see adapting to the Hollows as the best choice for survival. If everyone becomes ethereals but retain their sentience and intelligence, they could live within the Hollows without much problems. There will be no need for food or energy, as everything can be obtained from the ether energy the Hollows themselves generate. This idea is all the more likely when it's revealed that part of Sarah and Bringer's mission was also to test out their orange soda serum. This serum essentially allowed Bringer to not only become an ethereal but accelerate his evolution or mutation depending on how you see it, while still retaining his mental faculties. So the first guess I have is that the Order wishes to ascend into ethereals and bring humanity along with it so that they may survive together within the Hollows. It honestly doesn't seem like a bad idea on paper until you realize that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, as not all ethereals have full control of themselves and have a black hole for a head. An alternative idea to this is that perhaps the members of the Order are biological supremacists. One way humanity has been surviving thus far is through the use of technology. New Eridu has been able to find a way to harness ether energy and is one of the main reasons why they have been able to survive for so long. We also see quite a lot of technological advancements among the people of New Eridu. Advanced robotics like bamboos are quite the norm. Robotic prosthetics are commonplace, and even AI isn't something out of the ordinary. In fact, when we look at some of the scientific institutes that exist within the world of Zenless Zone Zero, most of them are pretty advanced. Helios Academy, for example, was able to create tools that allow users to interface with bamboos, enabling real-time holo traversal. So perhaps the Order are a bunch of biological supremacists and view all this reliance on technology and machinery as blasphemous. They still want to advance humanity, but through biological means rather than technological. Perhaps this is why they have attacked and raided at least two known scientific institutions, the Helios Academy and the White Star Institute. I would even go so far as to say that they despise those trying to research hollows as a way to permanently end them, since they might view the hollows as a gift for humanity. So maybe the Order is kind of like the opposite of the Adeptus Mechanicus and value biological advancement rather than a reliance on technology. Now, so far, the suggestions I've put forward theorize that the goal of this group has mostly been to advance humanity and make us all into ethereals. This is supposedly done to allow us to survive within the hollows. But what if there is something more to this? What if its members are actually being tricked or manipulated? Such an organization with such fanatical members that are even willing to sacrifice themselves for the cause must have some rather lofty ideals or a very charismatic leader, right? Someone who is able to inspire such loyalty and fervor. So maybe this person or being has tricked them for their own nefarious goals. Obviously, we don't know who this leader is, but there has been quite a few mentions of a creator. In fact, the giant white hand that appears during our fight with Bringer was referenced as the creator. Now, for most cult-type groups like this, it's pretty common for the leader to have a whole other idea in their mind that they just aren't telling the rank and file. So what if their leader is an exceptionally powerful and intelligent ethereal who has sold them on the idea of humanity's evolution, but in truth just wants to screw humanity over? Maybe the Order sells this idea of evolution, but in reality, the creator really just wants the world to be engulfed by the hollows and run by the ethereals. I mean, if you were an ethereal, wouldn't you want that as well? So an alternative goal they might have is, in reality, their leadership might just want a world of ethereals, not as a way to ensure humanity survives, but so that their own species may thrive. It could be that this creator is nothing more than an extremely cunning ethereal. The whole thing kind of reminds me of the Deceiver from Warhammer, the Catan that tricked the Necrontyr into going through the whole biotransference process. The Necrontyr thinking the process would give them immortality, only to end up being bound to the Catan in servitude. Look, I know I've used quite a few references from Warhammer here, but this situation just really reminded me of them. Plus, I really like the Necrons. Anyways, one final guess is this. Let's throw away all the evidence and stuff we currently have and just go off the rails. Given the creator appears as a giant white hand with eyeballs that can seemingly evolve humanity, as well as the phrase, "Creator, I implore you, refine me," what if the creator isn't an ethereal, but instead an otherworldly eldritch being that only has chaos and destruction on its mind? There's a lot of rather weird things happening in Zenless Zone Zero, and while it's portrayed as this futuristic sci-fi setting, the Hollows have been described to be somewhat supernatural. Plus, all this talk about having this armed creator thing refine you and evolve you, and the fact that the Order sounds almost like a cult, and that Bringer even grew tentacles, makes me kind of think of beings like Cthulhu or its pantheon. Eldritch beings that exist on a different plane that through faith and worship cause humans to evolve in grotesque ways. Even the moon in Zenless looks like it's half eaten by some dark miasma and hollows. This isn't substantiated in any way, mind you, just that I can't shake the feeling it's some extra dimensional being manipulating humanity into doing weird stuff. In any case, like I mentioned earlier, canonically we don't know much about this faction. We don't know what they call themselves, who their leader is, if they even have one, and we don't even know what their true goals are. So these ideas are just an interpretation of what could be. It's likely that we'll learn more about them as the story progresses, and without a doubt, once Phaethon gets closer to saving their teacher. Will they turn out to be a group of biological supremacists, or is there some dark eldritch god hiding in the shadows? Only time will tell. Either way, I'll end the video here. I'll be working on another video to discuss just the creator and their identity in more detail, so keep an eye out for that if you're curious. Do you agree with some of the ideas I shared? Who do you think these people are, and what are their actual plans? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video entertaining, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and as usual, have a nice day.